right, I think we're getting there. So let's get started. Welcome everyone again. My name is Stephanie Hafner. I am a career coach here in the CDO, the Career Development Office here at Yale SOM. Thank you for spending the next 45 minutes with us or so, learning about marketing and what shape your career could take form in if you're at Yale SOM. I've got three wonderful panelists that I'm really excited to hear from and hear about their experiences at SOM. And just one quick housekeeping item I wanted to remind everybody that's on today is if you have any questions at all throughout the panel at any point, down at the bottom, there's a Q&A question and answer box. Feel free to text and enter your Q&A, your questions, so that my colleague who is behind the scenes can start filtering them over to me. If you have specific questions for a specific panelist, also feel free to note that as well, and we'll make sure to answer them. And we'll try to get to as many questions as we possibly can. So let's get started. What I was going to do is first ask the students, their second years, to introduce themselves. I'll ask them to do their intro, then I will do an intro, and then I'll give you a little bit of context around the CDO, what the Career Development Office does for SOM students, how we're structured, and how we support your search. But first, let's see who is on our panel. So let's start with Martha, and then I'll go with Christina and then Stephanie. So I'm going to ask you guys three questions. The first question is, where are you from? What did you study while you were at college? And then what did you do pre-SOM? So Martha, if you can kick us off, that'd be great.
Thanks, Stephanie. So I'm Martha Bull. I grew up outside Boston. I went to undergrad at the University of Chicago, where I studied ancient Greek linguistics and Shakespeare. And then I got my MFA in acting from Columbia. After that, I taught acting and public speaking on the theater faculty of UMass Amherst before coming to join these wonderful folks at SOM.
Awesome. Thanks, Christina.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Christina Healey. I am originally from Miami, Florida. You can see the sun coming through the windows behind me. I studied ecology and evolutionary biology at Princeton during undergrad. And after graduation, I did a couple of different things. I worked at a technology startup for a year, working as the chief of staff. I also was doing technology consulting for a little bit. And then most recently, I was working at a nonprofit down in DC, where I was working with Indigenous people, helping them to secure their land rights throughout the supply chain around the world.
Awesome. Thanks, Christina. And Stephanie?
Hi, everyone. I'm Stephanie Revering. I'm originally from Minneapolis, Minnesota. I went to NYU for undergrad and studied finance and accounting. Then I worked at PricewaterhouseCoopers doing initial public offering advisory before coming to SOM.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for giving your introductions. And I'll just give a quick introduction about myself. Again, I'm Stephanie Hafner, a career coach here in the CDO. Have been here for about 5 years. And why I love today's panel especially is because I have loved marketing for a long time, have centered my career in marketing pre-SOM, worked on the consumer product side, worked on the agency side, also worked in education and nonprofit. So a lot of fun, different dimensions of marketing that you could take your career, as I'm sure you'll also hear from all of our panelists today. Just a little bit of context around CDO. And before I get into that, just a reminder, if you have any questions, please do put them into the Q&A chat box so that we can answer all of your questions. So a little bit about the CDO and how we operate, again, called the Career Development Office. There are two teams here. The first team is called the Employer Partnership Team, and their responsibility is to make sure that we get all the companies that the SOM students are interested in talking to and making connections with. So they're constantly hunting for new companies, or they're currently developing and deepening relationships with ones that we already have to make sure that they are constantly having SOM students as top of mind. And each of our employer partnership team members are responsible for certain industries. So we support all industries. So regardless of whether it's traditional MBA like consulting or banking or tech, we also, of course, support economic development, impact investing, nonprofit, education, startups, you name it. All of them we support here at the CDO. And on the other side of the house, the team that I'm on is called the Career Education and Coaching Team. So coaches are industry agnostic. We also support all different industries, all types of searches, and work with you once you matriculate SOM from the first year to help you secure your internship, and then as well until you secure your post SOM graduate job. And so there's a lot of things that are involved in that: resume review, cover letter, networking, interviewing. I mean, it could take shape in any form. We are really here to be your partner here while you're at SOM for the entire 2 years to make sure that you get that dream job that you came to business school for. So that's just a little bit about the CDO and what to expect in terms of support. And then I just wanted to give a little bit of an overview. I'm sure there are a lot of other companies that I'm sure our panelists can talk about, but I just wanted to give you a sense. I looked at last year's graduating class as well as this year's internship class, just to give you a sense for what kind of companies did people go to and do marketing at. So at the top of the list, some of the usual suspects here are PepsiCo, P&G, Unilever, Coca-Cola, Bayer, J&J, AB InBev. That's just to name a sampling of the few, and you'll hear more from the panelists today. And that's on the consumer goods side. And then on the tech side, Google, Amazon, IBM, Adobe, Spotify, YouTube, Microsoft, again, just to name a few. But as you can see, you can really have a marketing career in so many different industries across so many different dimensions. And I personally, I think that's what makes it fun. So that's just a little bit about the CDO and job-wise. And now I'm going to move on to questions for our panelists. So back to you guys. I'm going to start with you again, Martha. If you could start and tell everyone that's on today why you chose SOM and what stood out to you about SOM compared to other business schools.
So while I was chatting with current students, as I was a prospect, I felt like there were a lot more SOM students that I resonated with and whose career backgrounds felt more similar to mine than the career backgrounds of other folks I spoke with at other programs. And I think that, SOM does have a reputation for taking MBA candidates with non-traditional backgrounds and putting them into the private sector, which was definitely interesting to me. And I think also just the fact that I felt a certain kinship with the folks there was very important to me. I mean, I think both in choosing a school and in choosing a company, culture fit has been really important to me. And I think that what I'm describing aligns with SOM's broader mission of educating leaders for business and society. I also liked the relatively small class size, and it's been great getting to know a lot of my classmates more deeply than I might have if I'd been in, a class of 1,000 students.
Cool, thanks. Christina?
Yeah, I echo a lot of what Martha said, but to put a little bit of a different spin on it, for me, when I was coming into business school, I was really interested in pursuing both a marketing path in addition to a sustainability path. And so being able to be in an environment where a lot of other people cared about this broader global society-wide goal was really important to me. Like Martha, I didn't want to be the only non-traditional background in the classroom. I wanted to have folks in the class who worked in a variety of different roles before school, and being able to take classes outside of SOM was really important for me. I was considering doing a dual degree with the Yale School of Environment, which ultimately I did not pursue, and I'm happy to talk more about that decision. But for me, when I was making the decision, I wanted to have that option available and take as many classes as I wanted to at the School of Environment at the time. So that was a big factor for me.
Great. Yes, I do hear a lot of students love the broader Yale classes and take full advantage of that. Thanks. Stephanie?
Yeah, there were only a couple of schools where when I visited and it just felt right. And I think I kind of went off my gut that Yale would be a great fit for me, because ultimately I wasn't just choosing somewhere to spend the next 2 years. I was spending the people that I wanted to have in my network for the rest of my life. So I definitely think I made a great choice. I also knew I wanted to stay on the East Coast, and I wanted to be somewhere that had people going into a wide variety of different fields after school. So I looked at their employment reports and saw like a much wider diversity of companies people were working at than some of the other schools I was looking at. So those are the things that kind of made me decide that Yale would be a good fit for me.
Yeah, and I have to echo that, Stephanie. I feel like in terms of a coach working with students, I am always amazed at how interesting your searches are in sustainability and lots of different dimensions that I wouldn't necessarily see at a business school, especially as you said, Christina, that a lot of people do joint degrees here, and so that makes it even more interesting. So let me go back around and I'll start with Stephanie this time just to mix it up a little bit. I'm going to ask each of you if you could tell us about what you did for your internship this summer, and then what are some of your goals post-SOM? Like, what are you thinking when you graduate from SOM?
Yeah, so this summer I interned at Anheuser-Busch in their North America zone, and I was on the pack strategy and innovation team. So they basically, like when you're going to the grocery store and you look at the shelf and there's a mix of different size packs, different cans, they figure out what consumers want when they want it and make sure that you have what you need when you go into the store. I will be going back to Anheuser-Busch full time. I'm hoping to work on one of the brand teams, so Bud Light Seltzer, Michelob Ultra. I think that would be super fun and exciting, and I definitely see myself staying there like at least for the next like 5 years. It was such a fun internship and a really cool place to work.
I have to ask, since I worked in consumer products and got lots of free products, do you get free beer?
Yes, $50 a month in Drizzly credits. So
Wow, that's
looking forward to
awesome.
that. Yeah.
Very good. All right, Christina, tell us a little bit about what you did this summer and what your goals are.
Yeah, so this summer I worked at Bayer on the global pharmaceutical marketing team for a new brand that was launching. It was a cancer drug, and it was really interesting. I got to do a lot of different messaging initiatives, worked with creative agencies on how we should position this brand and persuade doctors to prescribe it to more patients. It was really exciting because I was working on a product that had a huge impact on patients. It would prolong their life by a significant amount of time. So I felt really good working on the product. But ultimately for me, I am really excited about consumer products and I want to be able to see my product on the shelf like Stephanie. So I'm currently re-recruiting and I'm in the process, which I can talk about, doing a lot of interviews, but hopefully upon graduation, you can call me a brand manager. Fingers crossed.
I'm sure that will happen for you, Christina, no doubt. And Martha?
So I was in marketing at PepsiCo in their White Plains office. So that's PepsiCo Beverages North America. The other big office is Chicago, which is Frito-Lay, Quaker, et cetera. I was on the innovation team for the joint venture between Starbucks and PepsiCo, which is all of the bottled and canned ready-to-drink coffee beverages like Frappuccino, cold brew, et cetera. And my project was to build an innovation pipeline for functional ready-to-drink coffee. So functional coffee is coffee plus some other added benefit. So that was a really fun project. I don't know which team I'm going back to. I am going back to marketing in the White Plains office full time. Like Stephanie, I would love to be there for at least 5 years. I had a really great experience this summer. I would love to be on the same team, but there are also a lot of other PepsiCo brands that I'd be excited about. So yeah.
All right, awesome. And the last question that I have before moving on to the Q&A, getting some questions in here in the Q&A box, and please, prospective students, continue to ask questions because this is really the time for you to get your questions answered. I have a couple that are teed up here, but before we go there, last question is, in terms of career resources, which ones were the most helpful for you during your time at SOM? And Martha, I will start with you.
So I will say two things. The first was going to RAMBA, which is the LGBTQ MBA conference. For me, that was a really great opportunity. It's in October, so it was super early. I honestly wasn't even sure what I wanted to do at that point, but it was a really great opportunity to network with employers, get a sense of the feel of their company culture, meet other queer MBA students. So that was a really, really great opportunity. Highly recommend it wherever you go for your MBA journey if you identify as LGBTQ to go to the Ramba conference. The other was just honestly having the incredible CDO counselors to come chat with. I remember at Ramba last year, while I was in like teetering on the brink of, you know, a minor breakdown, Stephanie sitting with me and like talking me through how it's all gonna be fine. I was gonna get my cover letter in by like 30 minutes from then. And then just having those touch points, being able to make appointments throughout the year with Stephanie and her other amazing colleagues, just to make sure I was sort of on track, talk through my thoughts as they evolved, because definitely I know a lot of people come in with a really clear idea of exactly what they want to do when they show up at their MBA program. I wasn't quite in that situation, so it was really great to have them as sounding boards as I went through my process.
Awesome. Thank you, Martha. Really appreciate that. And I love working with you all. So it's a win-win. Christina, tell us a little bit about what career resources were the most helpful for you, please.
Yeah, so I, again, cannot echo Martha enough. Stephanie knows very well that I have been in her office maybe on a once-a-week basis for large portions of the academic year. That has been by far the most helpful thing for me, especially coming in with a non-traditional background and thinking about what's the best way for me to frame my experience in my resume so that it is directly relevant to the jobs that I was applying to. You know, I came in and I was using all of this nonprofit jargon and nobody had any idea what I was talking about. And so sitting one-on-one with Stephanie and working through those edits was extremely helpful. And she's helped me with everything from the cover letter and the resume to practicing interview questions, which we still are doing right now, but it's been incredible. The other resource that I've leaned really hard on is the marketing club, which I will put a plug in for because I am a leader. We meet weekly, we do a full marketing club curriculum, and we also put together recruiting prep teams, which Martha is helping us lead. And so it's a group of students who are interested in pursuing marketing careers, and you practice interview prep, talk about your process, release some steam, and go through creative questions to just bone up and be prepared for the interview.
Awesome. Thank you so much. You guys are making me blush. If you love marketing, it's a fun thing to do. So this is all fun. Stephanie?
Yeah, I think the company presentations that came on campus, while I signed up for probably like way too many of them, I think they were pretty helpful in getting a kind of like a gut check on, can I see myself at this company? Should I keep looking into it or not? And a lot of great companies did come to campus, like L'Oreal, Anheuser-Busch, Mattel, P&G. So there was a lot of like direct access to people that worked there, like on campus, which was awesome. I worked with Rachel Ryan in the CDO, and she was fantastic. She was like my cheerleader, and she also kicked me in the butt when I was like, I don't know what I want to do. And she's like, talk to second years, just like email them and ask them about their internships. And I was like, I don't want to, but she made me, and it was great. So yeah, CDO was super helpful.
Wow, you guys, thank you so much for the glowing review. Really appreciate that. And I promise we were not paid for that. We did not pay you guys to do that. Maybe Stephanie, if I can go back to you, I know you were talking about like recruiting and thinking through lots of different things. Did you think about other careers like consulting? Did you, what else kind of went through your mind as you were sorting through whether or not you wanted to do marketing?
Yeah, I think it was when I was applying to business school that I like even heard of what a brand manager was in some kind of like career primer. And I was like, ooh, like analytical and creative, that sounds awesome. And then when I got to SOM, like the very first week, they had like these career panels, and I learned about design and innovation. So I was also pursuing careers in design and innovation because I just wanted to do something that was more creative, but still used like all those analytical skills that I developed working in finance. I didn't want to just like throw all that experience out the window. So I was looking for things that fit that path. I went to a couple consulting club meetings because I thought about like design consultancies, but ended up not pursuing that, and just kind of like narrowed it down based on I think marketing just sounded like the better fit for me because it had more of that analytical skill needed than design and innovation did. So it ended up being a better fit.
Awesome. Thank you, Stephanie. And Martha, I know you, as you were mentioning, Ramba, lots of things were swirling in your head. How did you come to the realization that marketing was the right thing for you? And then I actually have one specific question that's directed to you from the Q&A box. How did acting and theater help you choose SOM? And I feel like that really worked in your favor, but I will let you tell the story.
Yeah. Okay. So when I arrived at SOM, I knew I wanted to do something that was, realize this is a very vague thing to say, but sort of human-centered. And so I was interested in human capital consulting. And I initially did a lot of recruiting upfront for that. I thought I was going to go that route. But as I sort of sat with the reality of what the consulting lifestyle entails, namely lots of travel and very long hours, I had to do a reality check within myself and realize that I don't have the constitution to travel all the time and work all the time. Like, I love working hard, I go all in, but I gotta step away at the end of the day. So it was around Ramba when I started to talk to people who were in brand management. And I was thinking, oh, as Stephanie said, this is a really cool mix of creative and analytical. And just to touch on the acting piece, there was a story to be told in the sense that Christina was talking about, like, how do you frame up the story of your background to fit the function that you're trying to go into, and also very real transferable skills of working with and teaching empathy and teaching storytelling and teaching all these things that I was working on as an actor and as a teacher to the sort of consumer empathy piece and the brand storytelling piece. And so it felt like a great opportunity for me to leverage those skills, and also a way for me to tell a really solid story when I was in my interviews. Stephanie, did that answer your question?
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you so much, Martha. Christina, I have a question for you. There's a question that says, what's been helpful, especially since you've made a career switch, a very big one, right? What's been helpful for you in making this career switch? I remember talking through your resume, so I'm sure you have a lot to say on this.
Yeah, definitely. So I think that the most important thing is recognizing that even if you have not worked directly in that space beforehand, you do have a lot of transferable skills. And I worked closely with Stephanie to identify what those skills are and to talk about them often, early and often in my interviews, let's say. So for me, when I was working in the nonprofit, a big portion of my job was corralling different stakeholders, persuading them to do different initiatives, thinking through how to allocate resources to make sure that we were going to have the largest impact possible. And those are a lot of things that are directly transferable to marketing roles. So just really being clear about what those skills are and lifting up from the context specific intricacies of them, and talking generally about, look, I've been doing marketing for the past 5 years. It just doesn't say marketing in bold at the top of my resume.
Awesome, thank you. One other question, if I can continue on this, is you mentioned taking classes outside of SOM. Can you tell us a little bit about that, about the broader Yale and how much you have at your fingertips and what you found was very helpful?
Sure, and maybe others can help me because I'm currently in my first outside of SOM class, and it's been a really fun experience, but I have only done it once. So I am currently in a Yale School of Environment class called Corporate Water Risk Workshop, which I thought would be a really exciting opportunity to work with a consumer goods company on sustainability issues. And I was thinking of it as an opportunity to kind of validate the path that I am currently on and just triple check that I am doing what I like and it's good for me to continue on this path. And it was an extremely easy process to enroll in this course. It was actually cross-listed with Yale School of Management. So all I had to do was apply and then talk to the registrar, and I was enrolled. And I think that from what I've heard of other people taking classes, it's also very simple. You just have to make sure that you express your interest to the professor, and then you can You can enroll and take classes at Yale College with the undergrads who are phenomenal. You can take foreign language classes. You can enroll in a class at the Yale School of Drama. So there's not really a limit on what you can do.
Awesome. Thank you, Christina. Anybody else have anything to add on classes beyond SOM at Yale?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Stephanie.
I'm taking graphic design this semester and I am loving it. It's so cool. It's with the undergrads, and all I had to do was I emailed the professor, and then there was an application just to make sure that like I was genuinely interested in the course because there was a lot of demand for it. But I feel like I am learning so much about visual storytelling, which is like crucial to marketing.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy I decided to take the course. And next semester, I'm thinking about taking a class called Writing About Food, where you just like look at like cookbooks and like memoirs and recipes that are written and try and figure out how to improve your writing skills around food.
That's awesome. I didn't even know that was possible. That's great. Martha, you had something to say too.
Oh yeah, I was just going to say I'm taking a complet class this semester called Key Concepts in Psychoanalysis, and we're reading Freud and Lacan, and I just took it because I thought it would be cool. So it's also just a great opportunity to take an awesome Yale class that you think is interesting and has nothing to do with your career.
That's awesome. My gosh, you like everybody had such different experiences beyond SOM. That's amazing. So I hope it goes to show how valuable this can be. There is one particular question I wanted to go back to Martha and Stephanie. There's a question for you guys. Is there a reason you mentioned working 5 years specifically at your post-MBA company? Is there added value if you stay for 5 years in marketing at the same company? So Martha or Stephanie?
I was just trying to make a point that I see myself there longer than the typical like 2 years post MBA. There's nothing really special about the 5 years, but at Anheuser-Busch, a lot of the people that I met over the summer, like every 2 years, they would switch roles at the company and like work in sales and marketing and maybe even go to like finance and then people. So I thought that was super interesting, and that's why I can see myself there for such a long time. It's because there's just so many new things to learn with the company.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, same. I think I was just emphasizing, I guess, well, also Stephanie had said 5. I was like, oh yeah, 5, sure, yeah, 5. But I was just emphasizing that I am excited to be there and really stay there and learn as much as I can on different teams. And it's not just sort of a perfunctory check on my resume.
Cool. Thank you both. Christina, I'm going to move back to you because I know that recruiting in the first year, there's a question around recruiting on campus and off campus. Can you talk a little bit about your experience in both?
Yeah, sure. So I can start with on campus first. So for on campus, firms will come and they will do, I guess now, a virtual presentation. Last fall, it was an in-person presentation, and they would talk through the different roles, what the company stands for, and you could get the opportunity to network with SOM alumni who are currently working there. And then there will be interviews physically on campus. So they work with the CDO to set up a certain number of interview slots, and you go to the room and you meet with people and you do the interview there. So that's really convenient because there's already a path to internship positions with that organization, and you can apply directly through the portal, network with people, get the interview, do the interview, and then get a job. For off campus, that is a little bit more self-driven. So you have to, honestly, you have to be pretty strategic about how you're going to spend your time, because there are tons of companies that you might find interesting, and to be effective, you have to think about, who are my contacts who are working in this industry that I can reach out to, get some more information, do coffee chats, and try and work your way into the recruiting process, not so directly, let's say. So I did a bit of both for recruiting. I did a lot of on-campus recruiting and then ultimately did off-campus recruiting. So I looked at my undergraduate network to set up chats, in addition to a, as Stephanie called it, aggressive cold emailing LinkedIn strategy, which actually was very successful for me. And so I was able to set up conversations with folks who I'd never met, and they were super nice and talked to me about the positions, and did a number of interviews. And that's how I ultimately got my internship at Bayer, doing the networking and off-campus recruiting for that cycle. And I'm currently doing some off-campus recruiting right now. So that's fun too.
Thank you. That was super comprehensive. Stephanie, Martha, you guys probably had different experiences too, on campus, off campus. Do either of you want to jump in?
Yeah, so I got my internship through on-campus recruiting. My strategy was well, I don't even know if I can call it a strategy. I just was following any leads that seemed interesting to me. Like if I had a friend in my cohort and we were chatting about a company and they knew somebody there and they were like, oh, I can connect you. I was like, yeah, great, let's do that. And then just sort of following one step saying, oh, I love this one piece of what you're doing. Is there anybody else I can talk to about that? And just kind of following the breadcrumbs in a lot of different directions and figuring out what felt right.
Important to follow if you're really liking it. Sorry, Stephanie, go ahead.
No, Anheuser-Busch came on campus, and then I did a case competition with them last year that helped me get the final round interview that was in New York. But like between that time, I also submitted a bunch of like LinkedIn applications for brand manager roles, which were like pretty easy to fill out. And then I also emailed a bunch of SOM alum because I find them on LinkedIn, and then like in the SOM system it has their personal emails, so I would reach out to them that way and had some coffee chats with people. So I did both.
Okay, cool. Thank you for sharing that. Another question that we have, this is not on recruiting, but it's about living in New Haven. Let's see, anybody want to volunteer talking about living in New Haven versus a big city, some pros and maybe cons? Martha?
Yeah, so actually in the end, it came down to Stern and Yale for me. And I was talking to some folks at Stern and they were saying this is a positive, but that, there's so many opportunities everywhere around New York. It's like you're in New York, everything's at your fingertips. And I said, well, then what's the Stern community like? And they said, well, there kind of isn't one because we're in New York. Which, if that's what you're looking for, great. I was looking for community for 2 years. And personally, I have really enjoyed living in New Haven. It's a cool city. There are a lot, in normal times, there are a lot of great restaurants. There are, places to go out. There's a lot going on in Evans Hall where SOM is. So I have never been without lots of opportunities to do lots of things. Also with Yale, there are great museums, art museums. There's great theater in New Haven. So if you must be at the center of a metropolis, New Haven is not that. It has been a wonderful experience for me.
I went to Stern for undergrad, so I can confirm that community exists in small pockets. It's not the same as at Yale, where there's definitely a huge community. But also just like living close to East Rock Park is pretty cool. I lived in New York for 7 years before coming to school, and I just love being able to go for runs in the park. It's really nice.
The other thing that I'll say about New Haven is that it is equidistant from here to Boston and from here to New York. So if you want to be in the center of the metropolis, you can still do that, but then you can also be apart from it, have the community and have, outdoors. There's the beach is close by, there's lots of hiking close by. And so you kind of get a good mix of everything in New Haven.
Cool. Sounds like all of you have been in love with New Haven or fallen in love with New Haven, which is great. Christina, this one I'm going to ask to you because it says, can you tell us a little bit more about Marketing Club? You might have something to say since you're the leader.
Yeah. So the Marketing Club is one of the professional clubs at SOM. So in the first half of the year, we focus a lot on helping students prepare for and recruit for marketing roles. So we will do a variety of different events like how to tailor your resume to specific marketing positions. We'll do panels with alumni so that you can learn about what does it mean to be a brand manager? What does it mean to work in consumer insights? So lots of speaker events that are educational to help you determine if a marketing career is right for you. And then just skill building. So practicing for interview questions, learning about different trends that are occurring within specific industries. Then in the second half of the year, we focus more on like talks and interesting topics in marketing. So we bring in outside speakers, we do a lot of learning related events, and then continue to do that support from a recruiting perspective. But it's really fun. We also do a lot of community building events. So we'll watch ads together and talk about how to evaluate them. We'll do fun, creative, I guess as fun as interview prep can be, but fun, creative interview prep, and talk about, marketing articles and different interests that people have.
Awesome, thank you. Stephanie, I'm gonna ask you this question because you mentioned how the CDO encouraged you to talk to a lot of people about marketing and really explore. When you were talking to SOM alums, how accessible did you feel like they were? Can you talk about some of the conversations you had, maybe sparked insights and some passion towards certain areas? How did those conversations with SOM alums go?
Yeah, every single person that I emailed responded, which I guess, I don't know, I shouldn't be surprised after being here. Like, that makes a lot of sense. I talked to someone at Unilever who was super really open about what it's like to be a brand manager at a really large firm. And I was just impressed with how honest she was with everything she liked and disliked. She wasn't trying to sell me anything, which was great. I also talked to someone at, I can't remember the name of it. Another a beauty products company who helped me with my application. Someone at Johnson & Johnson. So all these people volunteered to read my cover letters, check my resume, pass along my application. They're like, let me know when you submit. So people were super supportive and really, really helpful. Which, I mean, yeah, again, after being here, I can totally see that makes sense to me.
Yes, and I'd echo that. Alums are super amazing and are really the reason why there's a lot of opportunities opening and doors are opened here for SOM students. Martha, I remember you during Ramba and the balancing act. There's a question here around how do you balance everything with recruiting, academics, social life. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. I will say, and this was sort of in my mind when I was talking about New Haven generally, you will never be at a loss for things to do. And at a certain point, you need to prioritize and you need to say no to things. There was a period where I had a lot of interviews that were very in a concentrated period of time, and I knew that I really needed to have laser focus on that. And so I was not as focused on academics at that point. And that's okay. And as a perfectionist, that took a lot of, grappling with and getting used to, but ultimately it was the right choice. And I think that time management has been a very important skill that I have learned during my MBA journey. Not always an easy lesson, but one that you do have to learn. And yes, there will be trade-offs.
Well said. I'm sure both of you, Christina and Stephanie, also have experience in balancing because there's so much going on. Do you guys want to chime in here on how you balance everything? Stephanie?
I didn't. I got super burned out the first year. It's a lot. So you have to go into it being really intentional about what you want to prioritize. And even if you do that, which I tried to do, you'll still end up with so much to do. And it's fantastic. I have grown so much personally since starting my MBA, and I really did not expect that. I thought I would learn some stuff and get a job, but I feel like I've grown as a person, and that is exhausting and really cool. So just be aware, you think you're busy now with all your applications, just wait till your first year in a great way.
That's great. Thanks, Stephanie. Christina?
Yeah, I definitely agree, and it's a prioritization game. And for me, what helped the most was remembering what I came here to do and then keeping that at the top of my head when I was deciding how I was going to spend my time, because you have a finite amount of time and there are so many opportunities, tons of events, lots of interesting people to meet, lots of clubs, lots of jobs. You could apply to infinite jobs if you wanted to apply to jobs. And so you really have to say, like, what did I come here to do? Why am I getting my MBA? And how is this helping me with my goals? And your goals could be to meet as many interesting people as possible. And that's totally cool. But just when you're sitting and you're doing your homework assignments, you have to remember, like, why am I spending 3 hours on this when my goal is to meet lots of interesting, fun people? So remembering and being true to yourself, I would say, is important.
Fantastic. And I have another question here that asks about what classes and extracurricular activities prepared you for a marketing job search? I know, Christina, I'll hold off on you since you talked about the club. That's one big aspect of it. So maybe Stephanie or Martha, you can tell us about classes you maybe took or things that helped you recruit for a role in marketing.
You want to start, Martha?
Either way. Yeah, so in the first year, there's a class in the core, there's a class called Customer, which teaches you the marketing frameworks. I would say in terms of where I got the most recruiting prep, it was through marketing club events, it was through the marketing club recruiting prep teams, and it was through, as Stephanie mentioned, having contacts at the companies I was applying to who were SOM alums, who were helping me with the process. Second years, I mean, I think the level of internal generosity within the SOM community is really tremendous. Like, you can reach out to second years and ask them for coffee chats, and they will be so generous with their time and sit down, tell you, all they learned, and then they'll meet back up and do a mock interview with you. And then your alum contact will get on the phone with you or get on Zoom with you and do a mock interview and give you feedback. So I think that process and just and this is one of the reasons why I'm leading one of the marketing recruiting prep teams this year, because I really wanted to give back. I felt like I got so much from the second years and from alums last year. That was really, and certainly like also prepping with CDO folks, but that was really what helped me get ready for the interview process. Definitely classes can be helpful, but in terms of specifically targeting the recruiting skills, it was the other stuff.
Yeah, in terms of being ready for the actual internship, I think the recruiting prep teams were really helpful. But there was also a marketing club event that was like how to succeed in your summer internship with one of the professors, Tom Hafen. And that was really great just to, I don't know, it talked more about like the political side of being a really good intern. And then also I did the Yale Center for Customer Insights Discovery project, which kind of gave me some like confidence of like going into a marketing problem and knowing that like, okay, I can do this. I know where to start. This problem is like huge and I'm not really sure, but like, let me just like figure out how to do it. So that course was also really helpful in the spring.
Awesome, thank you. And we're actually running to the end of our time. So I have one last question for all of our panelists. Thank you so much for your very honest answers. The last question is, and hopefully this will help everybody that's on the webinar today, is what advice do you have for prospective students who are preparing to apply to SOM? So for example, what are some of the things that you wish somebody would have told you as you were applying to SOM? I'll let Christina maybe start us off.
Okay. I think what I wish I had known earlier, because I think I learned this throughout the year and even now, is how important it is to talk to people who are in what you think is your desired role. When I was applying to business school, I came in wanting to do sustainable operations, and that was an idea of a job that I had in my head. And when I actually started talking to people about what that job actually meant, I quickly realized that it was just a mismatch on how I like to work and what I would like to spend my time doing. And I think I came to that realization. I mean, I'm happy that I came to that realization, but I came to that realization maybe a little bit later than would have been ideal. And so I could have started preparing to talk to other people in marketing roles earlier had I found that path earlier. And so I think that it's important to be reaching out even now for what you hope to do post MBA and talking to folks about what does the job actually entail? What does the day-to-day look like? What kinds of skills are useful? Because for me, I just had an idea in my head and I was relentlessly pursuing that goal without having like detailed information about what it would actually mean to do that job. So I'm underlining networking, which I'm sure Stephanie is very happy that I'm doing.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well done. All right, Stephanie, Martha, maybe Stephanie, if you want to kick us off, and then Martha, you can close us off for this session. What advice do you have for prospective students? What do you wish you would have known?
Yeah, I think the thing about applying to business school in general that I wish I had done is like toured more schools and like really made the investment up front to determine whether or not I actually wanted to go to that school. It's a lot of work to apply to these schools, and you really want to put like your everything into it and show them that it's a place that you really want to be and that you would add value to. And I think by casting a really wide net and like applying to schools that I got into, and then I was like, wait, do I really want to go here? Like I wasted my time and theirs. So just think really carefully. And if you can travel somewhere, like before you apply, try to, now things are weird, but if you can talk to people that go to that school or went to that school, like don't be afraid. So.
Awesome. Thank you, Stephanie. And Martha, if you want to have our closing last words, that would be fantastic.
Oh my gosh, that's so much pressure. Yeah, I would just build on what Stephanie said. And I think when it comes to both applying to MBA programs and recruiting, it is easy to have a scarcity mindset and feel like you are coming in as a supplicant hoping to get something. And yes, you want to get into a school and you want to get a job and all that stuff, but really trust your gut and figure out what feels right to you. And even if you know you want to do CPG marketing, there will be some companies that like might not be a great fit for you. You just don't quite vibe with the people there, or the way they work in teams, or their feedback process just doesn't work for you. And that's not about you. It's just about like finding the right match. So I would say, as you go through these processes, trust your gut. It's all going to work out the way it should.
Awesome. Thank you for that wonderful close. And trusting your gut is definitely something I always follow and advise all students. So with that, I just want to close. Thank you for our panelists for sharing their wisdom and guidance. I know you've come a long way as first years now going into your second year. And thank everybody on the panel and as well as the webinar for joining us today. Hope everybody has a safe and happy Thanksgiving next week. And hopefully we will see your faces on the Yale SOM campus soon. Thanks so much for joining.